All right, we are back. We're live. Let's continue our little journey with the Entity Intelligence Project. Omar, you said in the last session that you had a little bit of progress there. Let me just kind of pull the code down and see where we're at. I'm gonna increase my screen here for 150, just for people on their phones. Let's put this in here. Here's the screen. All right, let's get started. Okay, so this was on the um let me revert this. I think I made a couple of changes in here. Let me synchronize. This is for the query service. That's not the right service. We are on the processing service. And that's for the retrieve SQL query. That's right. So let me synchronize this. Let's run all the tests in here. Let me give this one a fresh build. Just so it picks up all the dependencies and everything is failing. Why? Let's see here. This could be the either
You,
okay, I'm using the older version of Visual Studio. Okay, cool, cool, cool. Although that if as far as I remember, I know that I enabled experimenting with .NET 8. Let's see here. Preview. Their preview features. Yeah, there you go. And this requires a restart. Sure, I'll go ahead and restart. I think what I did is that I was running it on the preview version of Visual Studio, and I didn't want to enable it on the normal version so I don't mistakenly upgrade existing live projects to .NET 8. You see, with the new versions of .NET, I try to wait until it stabilizes for libraries, but for domain systems, human-facing systems, I can very easily, kind of upgrade with confidence because it's not integrating. It's not going to break any existing dependency. Okay, cool. Let's run these tests real quick. Here is a bunch of tests in here. I'm going to run all of this. Should be pretty quick. Okay, so it looks like you took care of uh, the validation piece, right? So this is
yeah, yeah.
this is a validation piece. Okay, got it. So this here is let's see here. This here is that validation piece, and you already kind of took care of that. Okay, thank you for doing that. We could circle back and talk about um um talk about the implementation and whatnot. Okay, cool. Let's see here. Dinesh says, "Where have you people been since 5 days?" Well, there was a weekend, and then we don't work Fridays. We let people kind of go do their business on Fridays. And yesterday, I think I needed to take care of a couple of things. I was out on Monday, and then Omar was out on Tuesday. So, life happens, and that's okay. You got to be flexible. You got to work with people and accommodate their schedules, and that's how you'll eventually end up building great software. That's the whole point. Okay, I think the next step for us here, Omar, is basically I'm gonna go ahead and write a test in here for exceptions, right? So if we covered all the validations in here, I can basically steal this file here and paste it. And I can basically go here and say dot copy dot exceptions dot retrieve. And what we really want to do here is just really just handle the existing exceptions that the foundation server service is emitting, right? So if this is our dependency here, and this is the implementation for this. But by the way, Omar, we don't have to repeat this IAI process IAI processing service in the partials because the original is already taking care of it. So just this is just for everybody, like people who are kind of interested in building standard compliant systems. It only just needs to happen in one place. Okay, since the IAI service is the one that's dependency, then it's standard compliant. What that means is that this service is going to only throw a handful of exceptions, either an AI validation exception, AI dependency validation exception. These two get categorized together. And then AI dependency exception and AI service exception, these two get lumped up together. So let's see here if I can, I'll go back to the models under processing AI exception. I'm going to create a new service, a new exception in here. I'm going to call it AI processing dependency validation exception. So that's one, right? And that guy basically main responsibility is to handle, uh, take the dependency exceptions and the dependency validation exceptions that's coming from lower stream services and basically localize that. So I'm going to go here and say that inherits from exception with the X like this, and control KD just to get things going. C2, CTOR. This guy will take exception, right? Because it's coming from standard compliance systems in lower stream. So I'm just going to pass that through in here. And then I'm going to go in here and say, so this here, message, AI processing, AI dependency validation error occurred, fix errors and try errors. Try again. So that's the message that's coming out of the box for this one. And then this second parameter is the exception. Of course, because of the purpose of the tests, I'm going to do an overload here since this is our new standard. And I'm going to actually pass the message in here. So this is a message. Basically, in here, we're really just saying message and inner exception, just like that. So far, so good. Control KE. We'll clean that up. And then I already added. So, okay, so this is one exception. Now I need to go write the exception for that. And dependency validation exceptions, both for dependency validation and validation exceptions. So I need a theory, right? And I need a member data, and then name of AI dependency validation exceptions. This is a method that I need to create up in here. And it basically is going to containerize these exceptions that are coming through. I see you've used this quite a bit. Control MO will kind of collapse all of this. I'm going to go here and say public static theory data. Here's a method. And then this theory data returns a collection of AI validation exception. So that's one. And then new AI dependency validation exception, right? It wants to know what the type is. That's okay. We can say the type here is exception just one, like that. Okay, now this guy is angry because it wants an inner exception. So we could just go and say here some inner exception. It doesn't matter really what it actually it does matter what it is. We just want to validate that it is what it is. It is whatever we generated. So this here is var inner exception equal new exception, just like that. And then I'm going to take that baby here and just pass it into this and that. These two here. So these are the two dependency validation exceptions that we have. Let's go back to exceptions in here. It should be happy. And then public async task should throw a dependency validation exception on retrieve if dependency validation error occurred async. How many lines are we? We are at 117, so right under the wire there. And here's an exception. This is our dependency validation exception. There you go. Okay, cool. Let's give this a given, a when, and a then. And then here's my expected AI processing dependency validation exception, which AI processing dependency, which is the one that I just created. And this is AI dependency validation error occurred, fix errors, and try again. That's the expected message that we have. And then the inner exception is basically the inner of that exception. So dependency validation exception dot inner exception, whatever that is coming from. We're basically unwrapping it, unwrapping that exception. And as far as I remember, I think we are passing to this query function as parameters. We are passing things to it, right? So let's see here. There's a natural query, and what are we passing to it? We're passing a natural table information, natural query, right? So that's what we're passing. Okay, cool. So I need in here list table information, some table information. Gonna be interesting. How is this gonna escape our validation? Our validation is gonna be interesting here. So create random table informations. I hope that's valid.
I
And
think this is valid. We used to make it not valid on purpose in the test, right?
cool, cool, cool.
Yeah.
So okay, so create random string or get random. Let's see, query. Do I have a method here that gives me, or did we just let's see, control mo, get random number, we called it generate random string. That's a weird language. Let's go here and say create random string. It's either create or get. Create for something that doesn't exist. Like you're not just gonna run into it. Um, although that the folks that talk about Bogosort and stuff like that, maybe Donald Knuth or someone like that will basically say, yeah, eventually, given enough tries, you may end up with that possibility. All right, let's use mock. So this dot mocked setup service. This is service dot prompt query async. And this query is basically literally we're saying it is any string because we don't care. Is any string. So we really here don't care about the input. And we're basically saying this guy is going to throw asynchronously the dependency validation exception like that. So far, so good. Let's um, let's kind of take over. So this is value task. This guy returns a string. Um, uh, retrieve SQL query task. So this is your service, not the mock though. So this is our processing service. And yeah, retrieve SQL query sync, and you have some table information, some natural query like that. And we can't just say it is any in here, even though it will let us, but we just can't say it is any in here. And we can't mock it in here because it usually just gives you a null or something. And if we leave it completely randomly generated, it becomes even more troublesome. Okay, so AI processing, dependency validation. This is your actual AI processing dependency validation exception, right? And this guy is basically awaiting assert throws async, same guy right here, except that it's taking in that retrieve SQL query task as task like that, and we're done. Now we just need to validate that actual should be equivalent to expected blah. Tell me if I'm going too fast. And also for the people watching, if you can't catch up with what I'm doing, I can slow down, I can speed up, I can turn it down, I can't turn it off. So there's that. And then we're just verifying that this mock has actually happened. So this is the service. Yeah, once your foundation is standard compliant, the thinking is a lot less when it comes to these. But here we are. So this is retrieve, this is service dot what's happening? AI service mock verify service. Yeah. And then it should say prompt, right? Prompt. It is any string. We don't care about what's being passed in there because that's outside of the purpose of this. And then I just want to verify that this mock VNO, verify no other calls. And I think that guy might be missing. Yeah, there you go. So that's a test. Control KE will clean things up. Control R, Control T. Not Control RT. Control R, Control T will run. Control RT will debug the test. There you go. That's just
Maybe
because of
the test should be private, like the method itself, right?
good catch. There you go. So this good catch. Thank you. That's these are the new things that we're just trying to get ourselves kind of acclimated to. This is internal, okay. I'm looking at the class and say, yeah, private. By the way, you'll see some people do this, right? Um, I don't know how I feel about that. Some people will just take the word private completely because it's by default private. I don't know. It seems I want it to be a bit more explicit. Let's see if this test is failing for all the right reasons, though. This guy is saying, I expected you to give me an AI processing dependence validation exception, and you give me AI validation exception. That's normal because we're not handling it. Kylo, do you want to take this one? Let me do a cleanup for this guy first. Do you have your computer, Kay? Are you ready? Ready, Freddy?
Okay.
Do you want me to take care of this one while you're, huh?
1 sec.
Okay, there's a
Okay.
failing test.
Okay.
Yeah, this is a couple of exceptions that you're gonna catch, and then basically just write me a test for the dependency exception, not dependency validation, and then uh, I'll write you a test for service exception because Omar did the hard part. He did the validation part. So let him be kind of a spectator
So,
today, if that's okay with you, Omar.
Oh,
But
that's good.
by the way, for people who like to read tech books and stuff like that, every other week I try to get a book. I just saw this book here. It's called The Internet Con, and it's a very strongly worded book. It talks about tech industry, big tech, um, some waves and ideas and regulations that control, how the tech industry is formed and how these products that we're working with are operated. Some very interesting ideas in there. It seems like the guy who wrote it is Corey Doctorow, something like that. He's a very interesting writer and very straightforward. A good book to read. All right, Kailu, just be aware that you're going to be doing some unwrapping, so just keep that in mind. So AI validation and AI dependency validation. Okay, so that's one. And then also, no, just be careful because you need the inner exception of that, not the exception itself. Your test will fail eventually. Yeah, you're gonna need to get the inner of that guy because we're unwrapping it. Okay. Okay, so AI dependence validation occurred fixed errors but found. Oh, it's a message. Fantastic. So I probably just misspelled the message. So copy it from the exception and put it in there. Oh, again, it's spelled wrong. That's all. Go back, Control minus. Yeah, I misspelled it again. I think that's what it is, but yeah. It's a great idea. It's a great standard upgrade. You'll catch all that stuff. Okay, cool. So that guy is happy. Well, let's give it a shot first and then. Cool.
Hassan, there is this idea that I came across recently.
Mm,
Uh, People who do domain-driven design,
hmm.
they have a special kind of unit test to test actually the architecture, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
There are libraries even for .NET, like where you can test, like brokers cannot call other brokers, right?
Oh.
Uh,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I'll find the name of the library, but basically what they use it for is the dependencies should point inward for domain-driven design to work to the domain, right? If
Mm-hmm.
someone is doing something weird and getting a dependency that they shouldn't, the unit test itself will fail. So it's kind of different types of unit test deals with assembly references and everything like that. But I find it might be useful here to make sure that all the rules are actually there.
Followed. Oh my God, that
Yeah,
sounds very, very interesting.
yeah. I'll just
I,
send
I'd
the link.
I'd love to see that. I'd
Yeah.
love to see that. I think that's a great idea. What is it, Kylo? Did you give me the failing test? We just lost you.
No, my
Okay, you're
Visual
sharing just.
Studio crashed. So,
I haven't even thought about that, Omar. Not in a million years. That's crazy. I'd love to see
Uh,
what's it called or who or what's a good demonstration of it or
yeah.
maybe a POC.
Yeah. Just a second.
Cool. Is it doing reflection just to see which assemblies are calling which?
Yeah, yeah. I think they started in Java, but some library for C Sharp now exists. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, let's see. Dinesh says, I tried to assemble people to do pit projects like you people in out free or weekend times, but they are not taking it so serious on any exception in their code. Well, so Dinesh, my advice to you is that these pit projects, well, first of all, you have to build a community. You have to build something interesting enough for people to participate in and be interested in. I call it the win-win-win kind of approach. Like if you're starting a new project, I think one of the biggest things that you have to think about is this useful? Is the purpose of this project useful in general? You can tell if a project is useful or not if you would be the one using it, right? Like if you're a teacher, don't go build a hospital system. You don't know anything about hospitals. Why would you do that? Unless people are going to pay you money and it's like a gig that you want to work on. Although that late stage in your career, you shouldn't be working on projects just for the money. You should be like kind of shooting for something a little bit higher than that. So you need to think and build projects that have a purpose, and it needs to have a higher purpose. Number two, you need to work with people who are also excited about that purpose, and these people need to benefit from these projects. They need to learn something. They need to increase their skill sets and whatnot. And then lastly, but not least, that project need to be impactful and useful to people that don't know you and maybe you will never meet. That's important. That's very important in that part. Okay, and then Danish also said they leave that task and lift for days. Do I really need a team to innovate? You don't need a team to innovate. You are the team. Like start like most of the standard projects. I think I started just on my own and I just started sharing my ideas, and then people kind of, started kind of joining channels. And by the way, our Discord server is not really that old. I think it's just 2 or 3 years old. But we're also morphing and evolving. We're working with people all the time. People will see an introduction in a YouTube video and they will say, okay, I want to be a part of this project. And you should not have expectations of people. Like if nobody showed up, that's fine too. Just pick up the game and keep going. Just let people do whatever they're interested in. You can definitely do it on your own. You can grow individually, but it's definitely much more fun that you build the charisma and be able to work with people and all that. Okay, and Omar, this is the project. Okay, nice, nice. I'll take your screen for a second, okay, while you're doing this part. Let's see here. Wow. Let's so they're actually testing the actual architecture. That's wild. So, oh, and it's also fluent. How cool is that? Let me close this nonsense. Private read-only I object provider. Types that reside in assembly blah. Oh my God. Who thought about that? That's wild. I think like personally, I think it's amazing. I think we should definitely kind of classes that are example classes should not call any method members that are declared in or have there's an overkill of fluent APIs here, but I like it. Have name
It's
cont
yeah, it's not the easiest to for me. Like when I looked at some examples, it's not the easiest to read initially, but it's kind of.
I think it's a crazy, crazy idea. I like it. I wonder what, let's see what other people in the community would say, because I'm all for, um, building tests. Mainly our tests are targeting the business need, what's useful for the business. But at some point in time, Kylo, is it pushed? The failing test?
Yep.
Okay, cool. But Omar, do you feel like this test is not for the business, is it? It's mainly for the
It's enforcing the like in our case,
enforcing
kind of
the
the
architecture.
standard,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like the folders issue that we went through last time. We
Mm,
can
mm.
have this like your folders should be like this, right? That's it. Like if something is outside the the correct place, it will just fail.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think it's certainly so look, I don't really like to shut down ideas off the get-go. I usually just say let's try it. Let's see what it looks like. Let's give it a whirl. Let's give it a whirl and see, if it actually is fruitful. And if it's not fruitful, that's okay. We gained experience about that particular uh, um, framework or application, whatever. So we can at least talk about it. Like when people say, "Have you even tried it?" Tell them, "Yeah, I tried it. It doesn't work out. It didn't work out for me. And here's why it didn't work out for me." So, but I think it's very promising. Like, just I want to make it clear. I think it's very, very promising. What do you think, Kayla? What do you think about that idea? It's pretty cool, huh? Pretty cool idea.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Kailu's internet is shaky.
Am I? Do you not
Yeah,
hear me?
it just
Okay.
started cutting out for a second there. I can hear you now. What were you saying?
Okay. I say, yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
AI service exception. It's definitely something to try out. I think it's a pretty cool idea. AI service exception, AI service exception, and this is a dependency. Yeah, so this should pass. Here. Oh, okay. What's the error then? AI dependency exceptions. What do you have here? Okay, you have the AI dependency and AI service exception. AI dependency, AI processing dependency exception, dependency, service, inner. This is all good. Okay, what's the actual message that we're receiving for this failing test? It's saying expected message. It's again the message. I love that we catch that stuff. That's fantastic. AI dependency error occurred. Context support. Back here, AI dependency error occurred. Contact support. Maybe there's a period at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, it's missing period.
All right. This really, really works. This really, really, really works. Dinesh, I don't know. Did my answers make sense to you? Just start, man. Just it's not about the people around you. Like, do something that you enjoy, and then people who share the same interests will write software with you. It's fun this way. It's supposed to be like a game, right? All right. So there's one last one, and we can close on this service. I'm gonna take this whole guy in here like this. Just gonna go and say, instead of dependency and service and all that, I will just say it should throw AI processing service exception, right? And this is a fact, the one thing that we test one time. And if service error occurs, here you go. And then we need a service error. So var service exception, new service exception. There you go. It's an exception, really. And then let's see here. We want failed AI processing. Yeah. So failed AI processing service exception, new failed AI processing service exception. I know that guy doesn't exist yet. That's okay. And that dude will be our inner exception here. So this is the message, this is the inner, and this is AI processing service exception, which also doesn't exist. I will do this, control period, we'll rename it everywhere, fantastic. And I just need to replace that everywhere, basically. AI processing service exception. Just throwing that prompt. This happened once, fantastic. Let's go down here and just do failed. Let's see, failed AI processing service exception. One. There's another one, which is AI processing service exception. There you go. Easy peasy. Here's copyrights. Here's exceptions. Here's CTOR. And that guy, unlike the other guy, takes in an inner exception that's native because it's a service exception. Here's a base message. AI service error occurred. Contact support. Right, then that's our inner exception right here. Okay. KE, control KE. Okay, and then we need AI processing. This is AI processing service exception. We need failed. That guy takes in exception. Actually, that other guy, other guy takes just normal exception like that. I need a copy of this guy. Taking message in here. The message, and here's an exception. Fantastic. There you go. Okay, and clean up everything. Here's an extra line. Okay, failed AI processing, CTOR, same thing, except that this guy will take an actual exception. Contact support is your exception. This guy here will also provide a message like that. That message will be whatever we pass in here, basically. Oh, control KA. Let me copy that one. One uppercase. All right, let's go back to my test here. So these exceptions do exist now. We just need to add some stuff in them. So message failed AI exception, and then inner exception is just the service exception. So that's one. This is a multi-liner. And then this one, AI service error occurred, contact support. This is all good. Great. And the exception is coming from the service exception. Everything else is just perfect. Fantastic. Control K, clean up things. Hello, here's one last one, and then we can create one last test to make it pass. Almost there. There you go. So this is, I expected you to handle service. You didn't handle service, blah, blah. Throw service exception on retrieve if service error occurs. Async. There you go, okay. Wrap it up. Failed. All yours now.
Yay. Finally.
We made it. Yay. I mean, the obvious things are boring. You know, really, the interesting things are these little discussions about validations. You know, that's what makes one system different than the other. If all the systems are the same, we may as well just automate all of them. But that's the fun part. The fun part is the part that makes you scratch your head, and it takes a little bit of time. And eventually, we just go back to these systems that we build and say, wait, you know, I actually solved that problem before. Here's how. All right. Just remember, you're going to have to localize. Yep. Yep. Failed AI processing service exception. Yep. That's it. Here we go. Cool. It's probably the message. Let's see. Yep. It's always the Yep. Good catch too. All right, sir. That's it. Create a pull request, Kailu, and I guess the next step for us to just see what's left on Milan's side, and once that's done, I think we should be golden. I'm really thankful and grateful for the work that you guys uh, have put together into this. This is amazing, but also I think we're getting super close, really. You know, I think we're gonna need a coordination service in this effort, but it will fly like a breeze. You know, the hard ones are processing and foundations, mainly foundations, but yeah. All
I
right,
think
okay.
this
You
pull
own the
request will
PR.
have lots of conflicts.
Oh, what's that? What's that, Omar?
I just said this pull request, I think, will have lots of conflicts. It has been some time since we pushed this branch
Yeah,
to
but
make
I don't know if I merged anything from Milan either. So let's see here.
it.
Entity intelligence. I didn't know I opened up a draft either. Yeah, there you go. So we have a draft. What is that? We can also do metadata. Okay, we can resolve that. Can resolve that. Um, this is the run retrieve SQL query from AI. That's right. No, you don't have any. Actually, you just have one, and that's in the programs. Yes, yeah, that's the least of our problems. That's the least of our problems.
Oh, okay.
If
Still in progress. Okay.
I, I can literally just, you know, this is why we created like in draft. But if you look at the difference, it's probably what Christo did with Christo came in one morning and he basically updated how we generate our pipelines. right? So this is just a small conflict to resolve. I think he just updated, let's see here. So he basically says steps list, and that's it. That's the only place. Yeah, I think we could resolve that. Let me take all of that out because that's where our change start, like this, and then keep his stuff like that, and I think that should be okay. Mark as resolved. Commit message. Okay, and then I'm gonna make this guy ready. So it's gonna automatically kick off the build, right? Look at this. This is a beautiful scene. This is, see, it tells the story. That's the collaboration, right? So have you ever seen a place where, you know, some guy does most of the work, but the other guy is the one that opened the pull request, and people don't see the story because he squashed all the commits. So now there's no history, right? Because you don't know what happened, right? This here, I maintain this like more important than anything because it proves that this was actually test driven. The test actually failed and failed before we made it pass. But more importantly, it also kind of helps us kind of know where we started and helps people kind of, it's like a track record. Just helps people know how we tested all this. Okay, while this is building, I'll take one more question. Dinesh says, here in our company, they validate at 3 levels, front-end API and SQL, and they call it 3-layer validation. Do you consider that as a good approach? Well, we do validate in the front end. We do validate in the back end. If it's a domain system with a front end and a back end, this is a library, so it's a little bit of a different beast. But each and every one of our validations also have 3 layers, which is structural, logical, and external, right? So if they're digging into these 3 levels, I'm with you. If they're not, then you need to add a little bit more validations. You just introduce them to that, introduce people in your company to that stuff. Dinesh. Okay, gentlemen, so this guy's running. I don't foresee it freaking out since there are no conflicts. But let's connect tomorrow and see what the next steps are. Sounds good?
Thank you.
I
Have a good
appreciate you
night.
all. Thank you all.
Bye.
Thanks.